Amber Heard is the new Rian Johnson. She may be the most hated person currently in pop culture. She is a fun and healthy person to hate, if that makes any sense. When I was younger, my friend said, he goes, I like to pick out somebody in my class, like some doofus, and pick them as my fake enemy. They're not a real enemy because they're obviously an idiot. But it's just like a fun pretend enemy. And that's kind of like what Rian Johnson was, and that's what Amber Heard is now for me. It's just fun. She's just like a wonderful target because she goes against everybody's integrity and standards and principles. I hated Lady Gaga for a long, long time. I hated Kanye. I still do. Kanye West. I hate Trump. No offense. I mean, I play a game Clash of Clans, and there's a lot of Americans, I'm from Canada, who love Donald Trump. And I don't really want to get into it. Like, we can still coexist. I have nothing against you. I don't really want to get into it because I'm not a politics expert. I just don't like him. I think he's stupid. But that's a story for another time. However, my hatred for these people like Lady Gaga, Kanye West, Donald Trump is not fun because they're successful. They're succeeding. And so it's just kind of depressing. Whereas someone like Rian Johnson and Amber Heard, they're just like plummeting they're falling on their ass like in front of the whole world, and it's just awesome. And I don't care how well Knives Out did for that little dork, because it's over for him as far as I'm concerned. Like, it's just funny. You know what I hate about a lot of these people, aside from the fact that they have no integrity? Well, actually, is the fact that they pretend they do have integrity. And they try to pretend they're cutting edge and subversive. They're not. If you go to an MTV show, you're not subversive, or the Oscars. Now, am I just bitter because I'm not invited to the MTV Awards and the Oscars? That is definitely a valid argument. And maybe it's true, but we won't know. Hearkening back to a previous video I made, I mean, are you just not cheating because you're ugly? And so if you were hot too, you'd be doing the same? I don't know. But the bottom line is, however, I'm not cheating, and I'm not going to the MTV Awards or the Oscars, regardless of whether I've been invited. I chose a life where I'm just not doing that. So you can say I've got integrity, or I'm just bitter that I'm not invited. It doesn't really matter. It's neither here nor there. One of my all-time favorite quotes is from this terrible show called 24, and I think it was the first episode where Kiefer Sutherland says, Jack Bauer says, you know what the difference is between a good person and a bad person? A bad person didn't start out as a bad person. They were a good person. But at some point, they made the tiniest little compromise. And then that compromise led to another one, which led to another one. And before they knew it, they were a bad person. And that's kind of like, I'm not going to the MTV Awards because I didn't make that initial little compromise where I made some money, and then that led to another compromise where I made more money, and then before I know it, I'm making shitty material that is now in demand because shitty material always is in demand. So, yeah. My point is that people with integrity, they made a choice not to compromise very early, and that removed the possibility of ever being invited to the Playboy Mansion. For example, no, I'm not going to have sex with you in order to get this high-profile job. No, I'm not going to star in a shitty movie that goes against my beliefs, even if it's going to make my career move up. And I hope they keep her in Aquaman. I'd be surprised if they did. But, I mean, that would be even better. Because then we get to trash her for even longer. She gets to be my fake enemy for even longer. Just like Rian Johnson, I wish they did give him a trilogy because it would be the funniest thing ever. It would be the best thing ever. Right? You want to give this clown, Rian Johnson or Amber Heard, a lot of money to ruin your movie. Okay. I like watching a clown just as much as we all do, I think. So let's do it. I'd love it. I'm not going to pay to see it, but I'll make fun of it. Okay, so that's it. I've decided to keep my my title material for the beginning of my videos, and then have the extra, and then I will do the rambling afterwards, so people can just close down the video after that's the ending, and then if you want to stick around, that's fine. But then at least you can't accuse me of going off on tangents, because I just love doing that. Tangents which are to me related, but it's difficult to wrap your mind around, I guess, if you're a moron. Or I would say difficult to understand why it's not a tangent. If you like gays, click like. If you like blacks, comment. If you like women, click notification bell. If you like gay women, subscribe. And if you like gay black women, Patreon, human warnings, give me money. So that's Alan Moore, in case you don't know. I kind of have a lot of admiration for him. He wrote The Watchmen and whatnot. Now, Nietzsche had this idea, which he called the transvaluation of values. And I gotta say, I've read 0.01% of Nietzsche, and I didn't understand that. But this is just one idea I've heard about, which I think is pretty cool. His idea was that the poor people decided to say it's a sin to be rich. Because they had to, because they don't have it. And, it's a sin to cheat because they can't do it, because no girls like them, etc. It's a sin to kill because they can't get away with it, but the rich people can. And like I said earlier, maybe that's true in some cases, but not in every case. There are cases where a poor person actually decided to be poor because they actually do have integrity and they actually do hate corruption. And there are cases where a rich person is not just a winner, but they're actually just a piece of garbage who screwed everybody over in order to get ahead. So I would think you have to use your judgment in each individual case. These are just guidelines. I mean, Nietzsche's transvaluation of values is just a guideline, but it's not the rule. It's just, yeah. Now, this is not a defense of Amber Heard, because I do believe she belongs in the ninth circle of hell. But it's just a fact that men will go crazy over gorgeous women, and they will do things that you never would have thought they would do, and that includes myself. And I remember I spoke to a girl that I once dated who was a completely gorgeous person, like physically. But she was a terrible person who left misery in her wake, broke hearts left, right, and center, including my own. And I told her, I go, this is not new. The war, the most important book ever written, the Iliad, is based on the Trojan War, and the Trojan War was caused by two guys fighting over a girl, Helen of Troy. And I said to her, I go, you're basically Helen of Troy. You get people fighting over you and stuff. And then, now that I think about it, like, this is a tale as old as time, and it will be told again and again. The Twilight movies, that's exactly what's going on. You got a werewolf clan fighting a vampire clan all over some dumb chick. It all started all over her. And it's a girl's favorite, like, fantasy, right? Oh my god, the hot vampire's got the hots for me, but the hot werewolf also likes me. And now everybody's getting involved. Because I'm just that important. I'm that beautiful. You gotta think that feels good for a girl to know that, like, hundreds of people are fighting and it's all about you. And I'm not saying every man is lustful and all that. I mean, there are people who are better than me out there who don't judge a book by its cover, who don't just go for beauty. And there are girls out there who don't just go for men who are rich. But I'm just being realistic. It's usually the case. Now, another thing that's been peeving me lately is that how all the people who pretend to be smart, they all have, there's always a word of the month. Today the word is gaslighting, and everybody can't help but use it all the time, and I don't think anybody knows what it actually means. And they're going to change the meaning, and now it just means, has the meaning changed to, like, making someone think they're crazy, or is it like turning everybody against the person? I'm not even sure how they're using it. It's just every day, every time I go on YouTube, somebody's saying gaslighting. He's gaslighting her, she's gaslighting him. The term gaslighting originated from a movie. I've known the word for 10 years, and that's what annoys me about how it's hip all of a sudden. The term gaslighting came from a movie called Gaslight, which was from like black and white times, where somebody convinced somebody they were crazy by like, you know, replacing their hat with a hat that was like 5 times too small. And I used to do hold on a second. Well, don't tell my parents about this, but when I was 16, we used to do acid, and I'd be like, okay, somebody would go to the bathroom, and I'd be like, okay, let's move all the furniture around. So then when they come back, they're going to be all freaked out. They're not going to know what's going on, and we'll act normal. That's gaslighting. Or they'd go to the bathroom and we'd set all the clocks ahead like 5 hours. That's gaslighting. That's what it is. Convincing someone they're crazy by changing their environment. Oh, another flavor of the month year word is agency. People love saying, you have agency. Oh, he thinks he has agency. Somebody told me that like 2 years ago, and I'm like, who the hell does he think he is? He's like a hipster with a big beard, and like he thinks he's like cutting edge. Of course, they all do. I was like, who the hell would use that word? And now everybody's using it. Oh, so do you look up the cool words to use? The words that'll make you sound smart? Like, oh, and another one is, oh, he doubled down. Now everybody uses the word double down, or now it's triple down. He tripled down. And I wonder if half of them know where it comes from. I wouldn't be surprised. I bet you 75% of them don't. But like, I just can't stand when people fasten onto shit like that. Right. You never read a book, but you know how to say, okay, agency, gaslighting, double down. Oh, another great one is begs the question. And that's like the best one. Oh, which begs the question. Begging the question means assuming the question. Begging means assuming. And it basically means the Bible was written by God. This is an example. The Bible was written by God. Why? Well, because the Bible says it was written by God. It's also known as circular reasoning, and it's just a fallacious argument. And it should not be used. That term, begging the question, should not be used unless you're talking about fallacious argumentation. But people use it like what they're trying to say is that suggests this question. It brings up this question, but it doesn't beg the question. And the most startling thing to me is that university professors use it. Like people, like the smartest people use it incorrectly. So when you doubled down and gaslighted me, it begs the question, do you think you have agency? Oh my God, I don't know how to respond. This person is really, really smart.